Greetings, salams, and namaskar. My name is Dr. Ghulam Dastagir, and today we'll speak about a very interesting topic. What is spirituality? Everyone has some inkling about the spiritual aspects of life. Everyone has an opinion about it. If you go do a Google search on what is spirituality, you get tons of results. But what does it actually mean? What does it really mean? We decided to find out by conducting some empirical research on what spirituality really means. And so to do this, we went ahead and collected data from three major world traditions: Islamic mysticism, Christianity, as well as the Hindu traditions. And when we say we went to experts, we actually went to those people who were devoted and who had committed themselves to the spiritual lifestyle for a long period of time, one way or the other. And so from these experts, from gathering all of this data, we came to understand that spirituality has three common factors, or the bottom line of spirituality is captured through these three properties. One, spirituality is essentially about that which is transcendent, that which is beyond our senses, our mind, or our thoughts, our feelings. It's beyond even our intellect, our ability to reason. Spirituality, secondly, is about putting in effort, committing yourself to understanding and furthering this belief in the transcendent. How much time and effort do you consistently put towards understanding this reality that is beyond our five senses, mind, and intellect? And finally, spirituality is about being and cultivating an attitude of universality, a universal outlook of compassion, of acceptance. There is no place for sectarianism, bigotry, prejudice in spirituality whatsoever. So these are basically the three underlying dimensions of spirituality based on empirical research. It also corroborates all the teaching of the great mystics and spiritual teachers across the globe, across different epochs of time. We now know what the three basic elements of spirituality are. Again, a belief in the transcendent, and practice or spiritual practice, and finally universality. So let's take them one by one. So what does this transcendent really mean, and believing in it actually mean? It's very, very difficult and elusive, this concept of transcendence, right? Because it's beyond our normal, conventional, perceptual faculties. We can't really pin it down through those methods that we generally use. We can't smell it, for example, see it, right? We cannot really put a beat on it by thinking about it or getting emotional about it. Nor can we truly rationalize it. But it still can be understood, and each of us has to some extent at least experienced this. Most of us have experienced this transcendent reality to whatever extent in our lives. Think for a moment that you are under a beautiful, large, starry sky, calm and quiet, and you're there by yourself, and you're looking at this glimmering sky, and the vastness of it is awe-inspiring. And the more you look at it, the more you realize that you are a part of this, but you're a very small part of this. You almost get a sense of not being there, this sense of not knowing fully what the whole picture is that sense of transcendence. Again, it's very, very subtle, very elusive, hard to pin down, and that is why I think it was a great sage Lao Tse who said that those who know it say it not, and those who say it know it not. Because it's very hard to say. How do we put this into words when we cannot truly understand it through our normal faculties? And if we do put it down in words, or if we do talk about it, then one way or the other, we don't entirely capture it. But inwardly, through some subtle sense, we do have an understanding of it. And this is the first criteria of spirituality. So the second one is about really working towards implementing, actualizing this belief in the transcendent. Now, how do we do this? Well, from what we found out, most of our participants spend at least 2 hours a day, regularly, consistently, devotedly, towards understanding the spiritual in their lives, right? And that was the general rule of thumb, 2 hours a day. The experts as such, who were really into it, spent lifetimes, and their entire day was devoted to the spiritual. Now, what does that mean for us? How many of us can really spend 2 hours a day into doing this? Probably not many, very, very few, if at all. But that's not really a bad thing. We have to start somewhere. And those who are experts also started at some point, right? So even a small step, but taken regularly and daily, consistently, even 5 minutes. My teacher used to tell me 5 minutes a day is enough. Start with that, but take the first step. Just a little, some spiritual practice, maybe a little bit of meditation, maybe a little bit of chanting, maybe a little bit of prayer, whatever you do, intensely, with focus. Maybe it's a breathing exercise, pranayama, whatever it is. But do it consistently, daily, deliberately, consciously. That's a start. It's very similar to working out. We all see all these fitness stars or YouTubers and professionals and so on. Now, if you're a professional athlete, obviously this is your life. So when it comes to working out, maybe you spend an hour, 2 hours a day, plus you pay tons of attention to what you eat, your calories, your macros, and all of that good stuff. You sleep perfectly, you monitor your health. That's an athlete. That's the professional, an expert. Even a normal athlete will spend, a person who's just trying to be fit will spend maybe an hour a day. But doesn't mean that we cannot aspire to that. Doesn't mean that we can't take a few steps. Maybe we won't all have, a six-pack abs right away, but we can at least start a little bit, one step at a time. Just very little goes a long way. The difference is spirituality is not generally as painful as doing a few push-ups. You just do a few spiritual exercises, do it in the right way, and you get very gratifying results for the most part. And if you're interested in these spiritual practices or some kind of a program that you can adopt in your own life, feel free to write to us via essentialspirituality.org. All our services are for free, and so take advantage of that. Our teachers never charged us, and so we intend to keep it that way when we share these teachings and these practices with all of you. So that was the second part, the spiritual practice. So a spiritual person is one who understands and accepts this greater reality. Secondly, does perform certain actions consistently, daily, towards actualizing this reality. And finally, they have a very universal outlook towards everyone else and every spiritual practice and different paths and different traditions and different scriptures. Remember, spiritual people are not about tolerance and toleration. They don't tolerate each other. Tolerance conveys a sense of something that is painful. Something of, it conveys a sense of putting up with something. When you tolerate something, you're putting up with it. Spiritual people don't tolerate each other. They don't tolerate others. They accept others. They love others. They engage with others. They actively, proactively participate with others, even their practices, even their methods. They appreciate these. And so spirituality is about universality and having that universal outlook. These three things are, in a nutshell, what spirituality is all about. Quite simply. Our research shows that. And it actually corroborates what all the great mystics have said in the past. What is called the perennial philosophy. Whether you take a great Sufi like Hazrat Rumi or Ibn Arabi, or if you take someone from the Hindu tradition, from Sant Kabir to Paramhansa Ramakrishna of our times, or maybe a Meister Eckhart from the Christian traditions. They're all essentially conveying the same thing. And that same thing boils down to these three elements: the transcendent, practice, practice, practice. Even if it's small, start. And it's surprising how fast it takes off. And finally, having a universal, non-prejudiced, inclusive, not exclusive outlook towards each other. All these three go hand in hand to give you spirituality. So I hope that conveys our idea of spirituality based on the research that we've done, which, by the way, has been peer reviewed and accepted and published as a paper in a journal. We have given a link to that at the end of this video. Feel free to look it up. And with that, I'd like to conclude this quick topic, this discussion. Your thoughts, your comments are always welcome. Please put them down in the comment section. We'd love to hear back from you. And again, go to www.essentialspirituality.org for any thoughts that you might have, any comments you might have, any questions that you might have. We have a number of resources related to spirituality, including a large number of articles that you can avail yourself to for free, as well as an article specifically devoted to today's topic, what is spirituality. So all of that is available to you. I look forward to hearing from you, and hopefully we'll have more content coming your way very soon. So keep your eyes and ears peeled. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. Namaskar.